All right, good evening. Good evening. Straight out from the field today. Got my hat on, my summer clothes on. I've been getting it hard, getting properties leased up today. So you guys got me in my field attire. Didn't have time to get my suit and tie on, if you would, but so excited. Javon, are you here in the house with me?
I am here. I'm
I
not
think
sure if
he
you can
is
see me.
still trying to log on. But until he gets logged on, I see lots of you that are joining in. Hey, welcome, welcome. This is Tammy with Capital City RIA, your host, and we are here live Tuesdays with Tammy. So I would love to see who's here in the house. If you could just say hello, let me know. Antoine, good evening. Moises Perez, Inner Circle member. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. Joseph, so glad you're here with us. Thank
Oh,
you. All right. I saw his face for a moment. There he is. Welcome, JJ. Can you hear me? I can't
yes.
hear you. All right. Daryl Duncan says hello. Hello, Nikki Dade. Hey, hey, hey. All right, Javon, I think you may want to try to turn your microphone on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. And now I can hear you. So guess what? We're live. All right. Hopefully everyone can see both Javon and I. Kevin Greeley in the house tonight. Hey, Kevin, thank you. All right, Javon, don't button that up too tight because it's going to get really hot in here with all these multi-unit questions that are going to be coming your way, my friend. All right. I see lots of you guys joining on. Take a moment. Where are you from? And let me know you're in the house. Just type over in the chat box, or maybe it's this way for you or up. But would love to see so many of you guys joining on. Kendrick, hello, hello. All right. So, Mr. Javon, how are you today?
I am good. I am very good. And yourself?
I am excited. I have had a crazy busy day. Oh my gosh. Tim Gardner! Oh my God, it's been so long. How are you? So good to see you. Carolina, Haley, Brittany, Joseph. Look at all these people in the house. V, Kevin, Antoine, another Joseph. Javon, you've got a huge audience tonight, buddy. You ready?
That's good.
All right, let's roll. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And what I would, Carolina from her cruiser again, just remember, keep your eyes on the road, not on the video screen, because we don't want to be responsible for you bumping into the back of somebody. So anyway, so excited that you guys are all here tonight. And let me tell you, I've got a very, very special young man. And I do say that he's very young. And he is very proud of his young age because he is so on fire and totally crushing it, you guys, let me tell you. So Javon is 26, and Javon is and has been an investor for about, what'd you say, 18 months total?
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, about 18 months total. Came to me probably about 9-10 months ago, maybe almost a year ago, really frustrated as a wholesaler, that it just didn't seem to be working. And yes, he does work full time. Hey, Miss Tanya, we hear you, or we see you. Yes, we have lots and lots of people in the house with us tonight. Before I get going, just FYI, guys, this is about you. Yes, this is a live interview with Javon. It is no holds barred. That is something that's really special about Tuesdays with Tammy. So anytime during this conversation, during this interview, if a question pops up and you want to share that question, please just type it into the box. Smitha, I'm just going to hope I can say this, Smithapalm If I totally butchered your name, I so apologize. But welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. So if there is a question, please do not hesitate, because we guarantee you that if you have the question, someone else probably has the same question, and you're going to serve so many others by asking that question. So I also want to give a huge shout out to my daughter from another mother, Miss Alexis Keith. Yesterday was her birthday. And guys, let me tell you what, this girl is living her dream. 1 year ago, she and I had a conversation about where would you like to go as a dream vacation? And she said, you know what, Tammy, I've always wanted to go to New Orleans for my birthday. And I said, awesome, when's the birthday? And she said, July 9th. And I said, rock on, sister. So she made it happen. And so she left on Friday with 5 of her besties and down to the heat and humidity of Nolens for some jazz and beignets. And I know she is rocking that town, or should I say all them girls are rocking that town, and totally having a great time. So proud of her for living her dream. And that is what we do here at Capital City RIA and Inner Circle, right, Javon? Is we live our dreams and we make them come true.
Indeed.
Yeah. Sharon and Fred, welcome, my friends. Mwah, so glad you're here. All right, so Javon is a really, really special friend to me. Javon is a very, very amazing individual who has really stepped into his own. And I'm going to let Javon tell you a little bit about himself. But what I want to share with you about him is I met this very young individual who has a heart that is just bigger than life itself. He is the most compassionate, empathetic, genuine, kind, giving. He is so thoughtful. He is so caring. He steps out in his faith. He goes above and beyond. He has faced every single fear that I have asked him to step into without questioning. He has trusted everything that we have talked about. In fact, just this past weekend, we did inspections on 3 apartment buildings, and Javon went 4 stories up. He's terrified of heights, and he went all the way up on the roof with the inspector, was even willing to be brave enough to look down and wave at me. I got a photo of that. So he just continues to defy all odds, and I'm just not even surprised anymore. So I want you to just share with everybody a little bit about who you are, where you come from. Give everybody a little bit about your story, your life, whatever you want to share from the heart, because that's who you are. Because a lot of people here don't know you, Javon, like I do, and like our Inner Circle does. And so the way you always just totally speak from the heart, that's what I want you to share, and what this journey has been like for you. So Javon now has 3 apartment buildings under contract at the age of 26. We pretty much have secured these. We've got seller financing in place, if not on all 3 of them, definitely one of them. 2 of them we're going to try to take to 100% seller finance. So, it's just been an amazing journey. We've had some ups, we've had some downs, we've had some highs, we've had some lows, we've had some successes, and we've shared some disappointments. And we've shared some coming to Jesus conversations. We've had some heart-to-hearts. I've had to kick him in the butt a couple times. But no matter what, he always prevails. And he never gives up. And he just brushes the dirt off his knees, and he gets back up, and he just keeps rocking. And I wanted to share this with you guys tonight because there is no excuse for any of us not to achieve and create what it is that we want to create in our lives when we commit to using real estate as the vehicle to get there. And what I have found over and over again as a coach, as a mentor, as a trusted advisor, as an investor myself, yes, I am an active investor in the trenches all day to day. I had 3 HVAC guys here today installing HVAC. I was at the courthouse today. I did 3 showings today. I signed 2 leases today. I did bank runs 40 minutes away. I mean, I'm living it, guys, too, eating it, breathing it, just like my inner circle does. And so I want to be able to share with you on our Tuesdays with Tammy to honor and really help you understand that these investors are no different than you, no different than I, and they are just truly achieving absolutely extraordinary things. So, Javon, you know how much I love you. And just, guys, I also am being totally transparent, right? Javon is nervous about being a public speaker. I want to share with you guys that are here with us tonight what an honor it is for him to be here, because he shared with me that, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I've never done this before. But yet again, he's stepping up and playing full out and pushing through every single fear. And he's just a testament to absolutely what it takes to succeed. So if those of you that were able to see us on Saturday, we broadcasted full out most of the day live from all of these inspections. The first one we started at was extraordinary. The second one we went to, we found a lot of deferred maintenance. And the third one we went to, there was a lot of deferred maintenance. But we're going to talk about the beauty in what we saw there. So, Javon, the stage is all yours, buddy. From your heart, who you are, what you do, why you got into real estate, what's your day job, what's your dream, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Tammy. Definitely a very graceful introduction. I would try to live up to it. First of all, I guess I would start by saying, yes, Tammy is right. I am an introvert by nature, very shy. A lot of people do not believe me. I've been trying to convince people my whole life that I'm not lying. But yeah, so I am Jamaican born. I moved to New York City when I was about 6 years old. My mother moved to Brooklyn, New York, and she left me with my grandmother and my brother in Jamaica. So we used to visit her for the summers when I was younger until when I was about 6 years old. And it got to a point where I'm like, something doesn't feel right. They tried to send me back home in a plane, but I refused to get in the plane. My brother left to go home to Jamaica. Then my mom kept me, and I'm not sure about all the paperwork and stuff behind it, but I ended up staying in America. And thus my journey began in America. I grew up in Brooklyn, then I went to school upstate New York in Rochester, New York. And if you know me, I do not like the cold, but Rochester, New York is pretty much the second closest place to Canada you could get. So why the school picked me. I didn't pick it, but I just went with it. So after I went to school for computer engineering technology, and when I was about to graduate, after a 5-year program, I spoke to my career counselor, and I was explaining to her that, I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. I'm good at engineering, but I just feel like there's something else. We had many appointments where we talked about the next steps, what to do, and I didn't feel like it helped. I told her that I want to do the Peace Corps, just to travel, clear my head, and figure out what I want to do. So after, I graduated, being in the Peace Corps was a year application process. I worked full time in companies in Virginia. Chantilly was where I worked first, and then I moved to a company in Manassas. Then I went to the Peace Corps. When I came back, I was here it was nice to, be free, not have any real responsibilities, have things taken care of for me. And somehow the book Rich Dad Poor Dad ended up in my hands. And till this day, I don't remember how, but I remember in high school, my brother gave me that book, and, I threw it aside. I was like, whatever. So when it came back in my hand, it was the right time. I was very frustrated when I came back from the Peace Corps, and I had to transition back into 9-to-5 life, and knowing that there's things out there that makes me happier than what I'm doing now, it was kind of frustrating. So that's why I say it's perfect timing. But I read the book, and instantly when I finished the last page, I was here like, that's it. That's what I want to do. And what I remember specifically from the book was tax liens. And what interested me about tax liens was the fact that it was passive. So as I just said, I like traveling. So tax liens was, a good strategy to use to get passive income. So I started learning about real estate, went to a couple of workshops, and then I heard, wholesaling, rehabs, and single family rentals. And then eventually you get to multifamily. And, kind of frustrated me because it sounded like the similar structure to, go to school, college, job, and I'm married. And I was like, it's too much. It's too in order, predictable. I just didn't like it. It just didn't sit with me. But, that's all I knew at the time. So, I work with former mentors of mine. In fact, I still do consider them mentors because they're great. They're big on wholesaling. And, I tried doing the wholesaling, and like Tammy said, it got pretty frustrating because in the back of my head, I knew what I really wanted was passive income, and I was doing all these steps in order to get to that. So I tell people what basically it was to me was I was doing plan B when I wanted to really do was plan A. Mm-hmm. And as I've learned, that's a setup for failure. So eventually I learned about Tammy's multi-unit course from her 2-day intensive. And, I wasn't even going to do it at first. I was going to let another opportunity slide in my life to, learn about multi-units. But I had to talk with Tammy, and I decided, like, why not? And that was last September. I started the program with her September 6th. And it's about to be a year, which is pretty, but yeah, now I'm to the point where, we have these 3 properties under contract, LOI, to be specific. But there's nothing to stop us from, taking it all the way. So I'm excited to be here with you guys to tell more about my journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Javon, for sharing your story, as always, right? Just totally raw, pure, straight from the heart. Now you guys get to see a little bit about what I love so much about him. And so, Javon, I know you said you're an engineer. You're still in Northern Virginia, but what do you actually do during the day?
So it's actually funny because I'm at work right now. We have this huge project. So I told them, like, hey, I have this thing to do, but I'll be back when I'm done. But I'm a full-time software engineer. And yeah, it's pretty much as fun as it sounds. I sit in front of a computer all day. I code.
It is 8:19 p.m. And you're at work?
I am at work.
Okay. Just checking. That's actually not like you.
It is not.
To be at work that late. So as always, committed, totally dedicated, no matter what, to be in here. So you're a software engineer. Mm-hmm. And I know you enjoy what you do, but it's not fulfilling to you. And clearly in reading the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, you saw this thing called passive income. You saw tax liens as a possible way to get there. And I will never forget the conversation that you and I had, because you said, first I have to, right, like society says, right, we have to go to elementary school. Then we have to go to junior high school, and then we have to go to high school, and then we have to go to college, and then we have to get our master's degree, and then we have to get a job, and then we have to buy a house, and then we are supposed to find a partner, and then we're supposed to have kids and the white picket fence. Like, that's what society says we're supposed to do. Well, there's this societal way of investing too. First, you're supposed to wholesale, then you're supposed to rehab. And then after you have enough money saved up, then you go out and you buy a multi-unit. And I'm here to share with you, and so is Javon and anybody in my inner circle, that is not true. It is a myth. So Javon is here. He is 26 years old. Daryl, the book that Javon read was the very, very famous book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So that was the book that he read that, changed his life and got him started in real estate. So Javon and I had this conversation. It was a very long conversation. He didn't believe he was worthy of investing in multi-unit. He didn't believe he could do it. He definitely knew he didn't have enough money saved. And he felt like he didn't have enough real estate knowledge to be able to play with the big dogs, if you would. And yet his dream was to travel. His dream was to create passive income. His dream was to be able to give back, to do for others, to do for his mom, to make his family proud, and, to change lives. And I said, Javon, you don't have to know how to do everything. You just have to understand what the process is. And when you're surrounded by a team and you have an amazing advisor, coach, mentor with you that has walked that journey before you and that will walk that journey with you, absolutely anything is possible. And so as Javon will share with you, as will so many of the CC Ria family and my inner circle, is that the core foundation of all of their success, whether it's Javon, whether it's Mark, whether it's Tanya, whether it's Moises, whether it is any of them, it's their mindset. And it is breaking through that negativity, naysaying, just dream stealing. I call it stinking thinking. And it absolutely is positive. And so true. Javon did not have $50,000 saved up. He still doesn't have $50,000 saved up, guys. Seriously. So how in the world does he have 3 apartment buildings tied up? He does. And he's got 19 units. And these 19 units, when they're distressed, well, 2 of them are distressed, which is what we call opportunity, but they're occupied and they're cash flowing. So we have huge upside, which are called value adds. And what Javon has found in these properties is just an immense opportunity. And what I know, as these properties sit right now with the cash flow that they're bringing in right now, I personally know it is double the amount of what Javon makes and brings home on a monthly basis from his JOB. Okay, so imagine a year from now, he repositions these properties, he gets them up to the market value, he stabilizes them, he gets the work done on them. He is literally, if he wanted to, could probably walk away from his JOB. But he and I are going to have several conversations to make sure that he can replace his job consistently for 6 months to a year, plus his benefits, before I will truly allow him to walk away and terminate his job. But, we're going to take you through that process, because I'm sure so many of you are saying, wait, back up. How did it happen? How did he find his market? How did he find these properties? I'm going to tell you guys, they weren't listed. All 3 of them are off market deals. So you will not find them on the MLS because they don't exist. One of them, we already know we're probably going to be doing 25% seller financing. The other 2, we're going to be taking down pretty darn close to 100% seller financing. So this opportunity in investing exists all the time. And so many rehabbers jump in, and wholesalers and rehabbers, and they're looking for that $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 check. Guys, it's great. It really is. It's awesome. But when the money's gone, guess what? It's gone. In multi-unit, you have consistent assets that are working for you. Passive income month after month after month after month. $7,000 a month, $7,000 a month, $8,000 a month, $8,000 a month, $9,000, more and more and over and over and over again. And Javon realized, oh my God, Tammy, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And we've gone through the process. If you look back a year ago, there's no way you would have known Javon today or a year ago what you know now, right? I mean, when you look at the growth that you have come from and where you are today in your knowledge as a real estate investor and then in your growth as a human being, it's a total 360-degree evolution. Wouldn't you agree?
I would.
Awesome.
Just going back to what you said about mindset, it's not something that you could change in a day, in a week. It's gradual, continual growth. And, till this day, it amazes me. One of my favorite quotes is, day by day, nothing changes. When you look back, everything's different. And I love the quote, and I never knew why until, I just look back and I'm here like, whoa. I got off the phone with a broker and I was like, who had that conversation with that guy? Because that was not me. And
did I just say that?
It's things like that just amazes you. So mindset is definitely huge. You don't even bother going anywhere until you get that first.
All right. So one of the questions, Javon, from Z is, how did you find seller financing? And did you have to bring any of your own funds to the table first? So Z, you can't find seller financing. It is something that is negotiated and talked about, if you would. It's creative deal structuring with the sellers. And it's all built on the relationship. It's all built on the foundation of the relationship that you build with the broker, with the sellers. We will definitely come back to it. We'll talk about it because these opportunities did not start out with seller financing. We didn't present them as seller financing when we tied them up, but we're going to talk about that. Literally, I'm going to take you guys step by step, exactly what Javon has done to get to the point where he is today. Did he have to bring any of his own funds to the table? Javon has brought nothing, absolutely zero, zilch, nada to the table thus far. The first check I saw Javon write was on Saturday, and that was to pay the property inspector for 19 units that were professionally inspected, which is one of the greatest checks that Javon will ever write, because sometimes the best property are the properties that we continue forward on. Sometimes the best properties are what we learn from an inspection and we decide to walk away. Okay. So the very, very first true money of Javon's that I have seen him have to spend out of Hip National Bank was a check that he stroked. Now, mind you, when he was wholesaling, I think he had some marketing funds that you would use, some direct mail pieces and things like that. So I'm not counting that. But in terms of these three buildings, other than what Javon is going to share with you, which is how he identified his market, how he's identified these properties, and then what that process has been so far. So Antoine says, when is the next opportunity to join the program for multi-unit coaching? Antoine, if you want it bad enough, baby, it is always there. All you have to do is ask. So feel free to text or email me. I will give out my cell phone at the end. I have no problem sharing my cell phone. All I ask is that you always respect my cell phone and understand that I am a very, very busy, active real estate investor, and that it may take a day or two for me to get back to you, but I will respond back to you, and I have no problem with sharing my cell phone. So, all right. Ella, Javon, I want to get into your story, but we got lots of questions, and they're important too. Ella says, software engineering is a pretty interesting and well-paying job. Investing can't seriously be giving you more, can it? Javon, Ellis says, ready, I'm going to repeat the question. Software engineering is a pretty interesting and well-paying job. So Javon, that means that you are very well paid for being a software engineer. So investing in real estate can't seriously be giving you more money than your day job. Is that true or is that false?
I guess I'll answer like this. software engineering is a well-paying job. I don't disagree with you there. But like I shared you at the beginning of the video, I am still at work. So what's your trade-off? There is a trade-off, and there is more people that's making more money than the software engineer, and on the monthly basis on, with investing. It just goes into the type of investing they do and the trade-off that they're willing to give for investing. For me, I think time is more precious than my software engineering salary. So that's why I'm looking forward to making more strides with this job. I don't want to call investing a job, but yeah, the entrepreneurship route, I'll go with that.
So, Javon, your job is a day job. Your investing is a lifestyle commitment. It's a choice.
Yeah.
And it's the freedom to have wealth, independence, and the lifestyle that you choose to have, where a job is trading your time for dollars. And it is now 8:31 p.m. and you're still at the office. I don't know what time you'll be leaving. I know you're sacrificing now an hour. But Ella, what I can tell you, I know for a fact, because I'm not going to share publicly what Javon's salary is, but what I can share with you, these 3 properties, which are 19 units, okay, are probably going to be somewhere in the range of $400,000 to $450,000 that we're going to acquire them for. Guys, that's what we pay for one single family home in the DC metro, okay? Javon is going to acquire 19 cash flowing units that will provide him income every single month for the rest of his life. That's one revenue stream. He also gets equity. He also gets appreciation. He also gets massive itemization and tax deductions and depreciation. He also gets to raise the rents up. So he gets to give himself a raise instantly on a yearly basis, or as he see fits to raise the rent. But the most important thing is he gets to profoundly impact the lives of these residents that are a part of his community. One of the units that we walked into on Saturday was a young couple with a 7-week-old baby. And that unit, there was a shift in Javon. And when I saw the look on his face, he said, "But Tammy, it's a baby." And I said, "Yes, Javon, it's a 7-week-old. It is an infant." He said, but. And then we went out to dinner and we had a conversation about that. It's not just being an engineer and having a well-paying job. Real estate investing will set him free to live the life that he wants to live for the rest of his life. And the amount of income that he can create with 200 units, with 400 units, with 1,000 units. Heck, if Javon at 26 years of age wants to own 4,000 units, he could. He doesn't need to, but he certainly could. Plus, it's a hell of a lot more fun than being a software engineer. Did we not have a freaking blast on Saturday or what?
Yeah, I got up at like 6. I got to Harrisburg around like 9, and we left there probably around 7. And it was honestly a pretty fun day. Like I was walking all day, but it was great. If that was full time for me, I don't think I would trade that for anything.
And you shared with me, you learned more in that one day than you ever thought you were going to learn in that day. Like you told me you were just blown away by what you learned, not only about continuing our journey on real estate, but what you learned just about the buildings and the assets, right? And the people. What about the people, right, that are living in those units? So, all right. I know everybody's chomping at the bit. And guys, there are so many questions coming in. Debbie says, yes, it is a lot more fun. I totally agree. And Debbie, I know we played phone tag all day today, and I promise you I will call you first thing in the morning. I owe you a massive apology. Forgive me. And I will hook up with you early in the morning if that's okay. If you can just give me a thumbs up and let me know that I can give you a call at 7 a.m., I will. So where are the units located? Is it in the DMV? Javon, these questions are just coming in fast and furious, dude. So we have got to dive in. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you became a multi-unit real estate investor. And what was one of the very first things that I shared with you that you had to do?
You had to pick your markets.
You had to pick a market or markets.
Yep.
And I shared with you that you had to pick a local market, right? And how many other markets did I ask for you to pick?
Two. Two peripheral markets. I think that's the term you use.
Very good. And why did you choose the markets that you did?
A lot of people are asking me that question. So my local market was Baltimore. I chose Baltimore because, a lot of people are saying, Baltimore is a new hot market, blah, 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 this and that. So, that was a local one that is on the come up, but it's still relatively cheap. The price of entry will be great for me versus DC or Northern Virginia, which is like really hard to get a multi-unit. So Baltimore was definitely number one. Well, to go back, actually, I looked on the map of the local area, and I was like, okay, so Baltimore's one. Then I was looking at the way the map was set up. You had the Beltway in DC, the Beltway around Baltimore, and the river that was near both of those places. So I was like, that's interesting. This seems like a pattern. So then, I looked around the map about a 2-hour radius because I am not driving further than 2 hours.
And one of the things, Javon, we talked about was drivability, right? Yep. And that criteria from my experiences that we want to be within a how many hour radius?
Yeah, you said 6. That was too far for me. So I said 2. Yeah, so in the 2-hour radius, the next market I chose that also had the similar criteria to like the Baltimore stuff that I put out was the river, the highways running through it or around it was Richmond. And I started doing some market research in Richmond. And my third market was the suburbs outside of Philly. And I changed it because of a conversation that we had in Inner Circle, where like I picked that market because that's where my mother lives. And Tammy pointed out to someone that, are you doing this for you or your relative? And so I was like, that's a good point. I was like, let me challenge myself a little bit more. So then I remembered passing through a small city with one of my friends after we graduated. And I was like, I like this place. I was like, I want to live here, but I like this, So I looked at the map and it was within the 2-hour radius. And I noticed there's a river there, and there's lots of highways going through it or around it. I was like, there's this pattern. So then that city was Harrisburg, and that's my third market.
And I want to stop you there, Javon, because guys, so many of us think that there is this literally step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and there's not. Okay. Real estate just doesn't work that way. So Javon called and he said, hey, Tammy, I drove to this place. It looked really cool. It kind of meets my parameters. What do you think about it? And I said, Javon, I love Harrisburg, right? It's easy to get to. I said, we obviously need to do some demographics. We need to do some research. And he says, cool, I'm going to go up there. So he followed the process, right? It wasn't, like I said, step 1, step 2, step 3. So he identified Baltimore as our local market. And then I share with my Inner Circle, we have to have what is called peripheral vision. If you imagine, you're driving in a car and you're steering forward into what is ahead of you. But if you're a really good driver, you should also be looking in the rear view mirror, both your side view mirrors. So you are always aware of what is going around you. Well, real estate to me is exactly the same. It's how I explain it. So I said, you want 2 other markets that are within your peripheral vision. For me, anything within a 5 to 6 hour drive that I can get to in a 5 to 6 hour drive is perfect. I leave on Sunday for another market in North Carolina where another Inner Circle member just put a ratified contract on a 17-unit mobile home park. Yes, Allah, yes. So guys, they're crushing it in all markets, right? Whether it's Tennessee, whether it's North Carolina, whether it's Virginia, whether it's Richmond, whether it's Norfolk. Adam and Heath have a 24 unit locked up down in Norfolk, Hampton Roads. Javon chose Harrisburg. He liked Harrisburg. He liked how it felt to him. So what did you do, Javon, to learn about this city, this market that you were not born in, that you knew nothing about, that you didn't even know how to get around it unless you had a GPS? Now you know more about Harrisburg than the actual natives that were born and raised there. How did you learn about Harrisburg? What did you do?
I went there. I went there a couple times.
Many.
The first time I went there, I went with a friend. I didn't spend too long there. Got there around like nighttime, and I got to see the capital city. I was like, this is near a property that I was looking at. So Harrisburg is kind of weird. They have like a downtown area, midtown, and uptown. So property I was looking at was in the midtown, and I noticed that it was walking distance from the capital of the state. So I was like, it seems like a good location. Then the second time I went there, I believe it was for a holiday party of local RIA. I went there with a couple of investors. We learned about the RIA. It was like, it was pretty interesting folks in Harrisburg. We learned that, there wasn't people doing flips. There was more doing rental units. So then the next time I went there was for a bus tour from that same RIA group. And this investor, he basically, he's been investing in the area for about 20 years. And, he broke down the demographics, the stages of the city, like what happened after the recession to the city, where all the jobs from the city were, the major employers, basically everything you need to research.
But Javon, you actually did all this research yourself, because we have a market research checklist, and you started with that market research checklist. Mm-hmm. And he knew he needed to build relationships. He knew he needed to find realtors and brokers and other investors up there. Javon is huge on Facebook, you guys, absolutely huge. He does stuff on Facebook with real estate that just blows my mind. He's a part of all these amazing Facebook groups. It's part of his millennial age, right? It's just what they do. He spends probably 80% more on Facebook than I do. I'm like, how'd you find that? He's like, a Facebook group. So he started networking in this market. He just started, branching out. He found a local meetup group up there. He said, hey, Tammy, do you know this meetup group? I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I love him. Go. And he goes, well, there's a holiday party. What do you think? I said, go. He said, there's this bus tour. And I said, go. Meanwhile, as he's building these relationships, we keep talking. He keeps diving into the market research, and he finds a couple properties and finds several local realtors. And he says, Tammy, would you come up? So I go up, and tell him what we did. We get up there to the city, and what did we do?
So the first time we went up, there was to see a 6 unit. While we were there, we found out that they had a large portfolio. So then Tammy's like, interesting. So we went to go see the rest of the portfolio, and a couple of the properties were in pretty rough neighborhoods, which turned me off at first.
You had no interest in them at all, remember? But when we went back and we parked in these neighborhoods, and I said, Javon, where are we? Pull it up on the map. And he pulled up that neighborhood, and I said, why don't you like this neighborhood? And he told me. May I share?
Yeah, well, I'll share too.
Yeah. Go ahead.
When you first go to the property, you look over to your left, and the building is there. But then you look on the right, you see this other building that's like, torn down, graffiti, grass overgrown. It didn't look very pleasant and appealing to the eye.
So during our visit up there, I said, Javon, stop. I said, we cannot judge a book by its cover, right? Because when we went into that 18-unit apartment building, you were like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And I said, now step back and let's look at it again. What does it need on the outside, right? It needed a new coat of paint. It needed some new shutters. It needed a little bit of curb appeal, right? It needed power wash. It needed a little bit of curb appeal. So many times, and what Javon learned that day is never to judge a book by its cover. Because when we did further research, we were sitting right there in my truck, okay? And I had Javon look up the city and what was going on right in that particular town, right? Because you had uptown, downtown, midtown, right? And cities are grids, okay? So you have, just like DC, right? Southeast, Northeast, you know, Anacostia, you got all these different grids, just like Baltimore. So Harrisburg is no different, and it's gridded. So we were in this certain neighborhood, and I said, Javon, pull out your phone. It's this simple. Pull out your phone. And he's like, really? I said, yeah. I said, I want you to Google right now this town. And what did we learn right there, sitting in the truck, pulling out the iPhone? What did we learn about what was going on in that whole area? Because it changed everything.
Yeah. So they just dug ground on a project they call the Mulder Square, which is basically they're tearing down 3 buildings as a focal point in the city, and they're building like a 26 unit 14 and some other size, but the city itself is putting a lot of money in that area to change it. So that was pretty amazing. And that, what is it called? The Capital Infusion? No, it's not.
Yes. Capital Infusion. So what we saw right then and there on the phone, sitting in the truck while we're driving around, and he's judging a book by its cover, and he's like, Tammy, this is amazing. He's like, I probably wouldn't have invested here. And I said, Javon, a lot of investors miss out on amazing opportunity because they only see it after it's emerged, when all the other investors are up here. A lot of markets, when you learn the process, when you learn the system, when you learn how to do market research, and now Javon is a marketing research demographic guru because he's done so much of it. He knows what to look for. He knows the employers to look for. He knows building permits. He knows where to look for capital infusion. He knows, right? Because he's learned, but he didn't know this before. It's not a learned skill. So he goes, wow, Tammy, this is amazing. I wouldn't have thought to go here. So unfortunately, that portfolio didn't work out. And I will share with you, and Javon will too, this was a low point for him because we built such an amazing relationship with the husband and the wife. They were very motivated. They were elderly. Wasn't really happy about the quality of the way they took care of the properties, a little bit more deferred maintenance that I wanted, but they were motivated. They were open to doing some seller financing, but it just kind of drug out. And then when we finally did get offers submitted, it just really wasn't there. I didn't feel that their motivation level was in sync with what they were saying. I know the realtor was getting a little bit frustrated. But guys, we're live, we're honest, okay? Javon hit a low point, and he's like, Tammy, I didn't get it. Like, I failed. And I'm like, Javon, you didn't fail. You learned so much about what is, what was, what could be, and look at you as a human being. Look at how much you've grown, right? This just wasn't the right opportunity. But there's so much opportunity out there. We're going to find it. And I said, brush the dirt off your knees, dude. Okay. Get back up and go back out there and fight the way that you've been fighting. And do not stand in this stinking thinking. Just move on. Put these properties on the back burner in your peripheral vision. Watch them. They may fall through. They may not. But don't go stagnant. I want you to keep looking. Next thing I know, he calls me on the phone. He goes, Tammy, he goes, I called the realtor, and he goes, there's actually a property, a 4-unit that and Javon, I would rather keep addresses confidential right now until we get to closing. I'd rather keep the realtor confidential until we get to closing. Fair enough? Okay. So we identify Javon finds a 4-unit. It's a pocket listing, you guys. And a pocket listing is a property, either single family or multi or commercial, that a realtor or commercial broker has knowledge of a motivated seller, but it's not actively listed on the MLS, right? So it's literally, it's in their pocket, it's in their back pocket, and so it's not listed. So he tells Javon about it, tells Javon he's really, really busy, just hasn't had time, and Javon is, oh my God, I want to look at it, 100% occupied. And then he finds out about these 2 other buildings that are owned by 2 individuals. One's a 5-unit and one's a 10-unit, all occupied, okay, all off market. Javon, how did you find the 5 and the 10-unit? Because it wasn't just some random phone call. How did you find the 5 and the 10?
The 5 and the 10 I found basically through a Facebook group for the area, and I just put out a simple post like, "Hey, I'm looking for a brick building with these criterias." I didn't list like any price range or anything like that. I just kept it general, but general enough for them to know what I was looking for. And this one guy posts is like, "Hey, I got one in the Midtown area." So I took it offline. I messaged him on Facebook Messenger, and we started conversing through that.
But you said something that you put your criteria out there, and I want to share this. One of the other things that we focus on is, and not just multi-unit guys, as an investor, so many of us get caught up in the shiny object syndrome, right? And we call it squirrel, right? We see the next best thing and we go for that. And we get so distracted by so many different ways of doing real estate that we end up doing nothing. We become so paralyzed. So my inner circle knows they have to have blinders on, and they have to be completely laser focused, no distractions. We're creating wealth. We're creating a future. Our goal is for you to retire, for you to fire your boss, for you to make X number of dollars in the next 12 to 18 months to equal your income plus your benefits. And if you're distracted by what's going on over here and what's going over here, all I know is you're not in your lane. And I don't drive well in other people's lanes. So Javon knows, all my inner circle knows, they've got to stay in their lane. And so what is your search criteria? What is it that you're looking for? You must be specific. You must be so laser focused, right? Javon, off the top of your tongue right now, verbatim, what is your criteria?
So for me, I like corner lots, brick buildings, older, 4+ units, no specific price range. And, that would pretty much get me what I want. And from there, it's just looking at the financials to see if it's worthy enough to look further.
I know you have a little bit more criteria, and that is vacancy versus occupancy.
Yeah. Well, on the Facebook post, I didn't put all that, but okay. Definitely would want it occupied because I'm doing a mortgage on it. Maybe further down my line, that would probably change. But if it is occupied, you could use that in your negotiations. So it doesn't hurt. But I would say anything from 67% vacancy and the rest could be unoccupied. I mean,
occupied. You got it. They got it too. They got it. So he calls me about these properties, and what Javon is very good at, guys, is analyzing, right? He's an engineer. So one of the things we also spent time on is understanding your strengths and understanding your weaknesses. And that's where I'm very real life, real world. I've been on the street since I was 15. I do investing very, very differently. I get it. And I understand, the contrarian way of the way that real estate gets done out on the street. And I said, Javon, your gift is in analyzing. It's your mindset. but it's very easy for you to get paralyzed by it. You can't get paralyzed by it. There's been many times I've had to say, Javon, stop, time out, dude. You've done enough. And he's like, but Tammy, but, you know, but what? And I'm like, stop, right? We can't continue to analyze this because it is what it is. It's called next stepping, right? So we're going to next step. We need enough information, which he knows what that information is, to be able to then submit a letter of intent. We do not go up and see the properties. What if the property is in Waco, Texas? You're not going to drive or fly out to Waco, Texas to go take a look-see before you submit a letter of intent. In commercial, a letter of intent is a handshake, but it's also a signed agreement that clearly states this is not a binding contract. It simply delineates the terms and conditions under which I or you intend to buy this property contingent upon these items. And so Javon did his analysis. He did a sniff test. He did his pro forma, and then he immediately went into gathering documentation from the realtors and from the two investors that he could get. One of them over-delivered in information, which again paralyzed Javon a little bit. He's like, Tammy, this is too much information. And I said, it's okay. Time out. It's okay. So we had to get to a place where we were really, really comfortable with him submitting his offer. And he said, what should I do? And I said, how bad do you want it? And he goes, well, there's 3 offers or 3 opportunities. And I said, so which one do you want? Do you want the first one? Do you want the second one? Or do you want the third one? And he goes, Tammy, are you kidding me? You're my coach. I want all of them. And I'm like, okay, game on. Let's do them all. So he did. And he submitted all 3 of the letter of intent. And I said, look, if one comes back and it gets signed, this is amazing. And we're back in the game and, you know, you're going to be flying high. Not only did he get 1 back, but I want you to finish the story because in the same day, guys, literally in the same exact day, what happened, Javon?
So, yeah, like I got the first one back for the 4 unit. You know, we had the realtor and I had like a little negotiation off when I was driving to work. And when I got to work, you know, we finally agreed on the price. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. So then I'm texting Tammy, and then I told her, I'm like, hey, you know, I got the LOI signed for the 4 unit. Then literally like not even 5 minutes later, probably like 2, the guy Facebook messaged me, and then he was like, hey, we accept your offer for the 5 and the 10 unit. And then I didn't even I text Tammy, and I was like, oh, this is him. So it was kind of like perfect timing. I was just surprised because with the other units that we spoke about before with the portfolio, it was like pulling teeth to get it. So I was here like, oh, this is different. That was pretty cool.
But and we're going to answer some of these questions, guys, that are coming up. I kind of really just wanted to set the stage. Thank you for being patient. So Javon literally, you know, then immediately reverted back to, oh my God, what have I done? How am I going to do this?
Yeah.
Where am I going to get the money for this? And I said, Javon, you've got to stay with me, right? We're next stepping into this. So after we get the letter of intent signed, then we are going to start gathering additional data, financial analysis, and we're going to schedule a time to go up and see the properties and do a site visit. So we can see if the what is in the letter of intent, what is on the ink and the paper that we've received from the realtor, from the sellers, is in alignment with what we physically see and visually see. And if it is, then if you still decide at that moment you want to move forward, remember, guys, this is still non-binding. He still has not put up an earnest money or anything like that yet. And so he said, yes, Tammy, I'm a little nervous about the 10 unit because it's got some deferred maintenance. And he actually said to me, I think I might pass on that one. And I said, fair enough, right? It's not about me. It's not about what I want. It's about his decision. So I said, you need to communicate with the seller and let him know. And so Javon, literally from the car, we're sitting in the car, up in Harrisburg, and Javon calls the seller and explained to them the conversation that was had.
Yeah, so that was a pretty interesting conversation for me because we just finished the site visit and had a recap about everything we thought, the positive and the cons, and we decided that the 5-unit was best and the 10-unit was just a lot of work, given my situation, being full time, being 2 hours away from the property, just a lot of different factors. So he said, fine, I understand, thank you. So then I'm about, we say goodbye, I'm about to hang up. And then he's like, hey, do you have a second? And I was like, sure, what's up? So then he was like, what didn't you like about the 10-unit? And I was like, well, X, Y, Z, a couple other issues. I don't want to insult your property, but, that's what I saw. And his comment was, don't worry, you're not insulting me. I've seen that building. So then his next comment is what's interesting. He then said, if we were to fix all the problems that you saw in the building, would you still be interested at your price? And my head, I'm here thinking, I'm like, it was a lot to process one time. So I was like, I'll consider it and I'll get back to you. And we hung up with each other. And I looked at Tammy, and my phone's kind of loud, so she was just like, yes. They didn't even say anything else. Just like, yes. So, she mentioned to me that means they're very motivated, and we're using that to our advantage as well.
And what was interesting, Javon, I didn't plug my computer in, so my battery's getting low. So I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'm going to step away real quick to go grab my power cord. Mm-hmm. In that conversation, the seller, what we learned is that we then wanted to set up an inspection, right? Because right after that call, I called my inspector, and who travels, love John to death. And John said, yes, I'm all in for Saturday, just this past Saturday, the 7th. And so Javon immediately called the realtor back and the other sellers back. And I wanted to get confirmation while we were still sitting there that they were all good for us to come back, right? Because we're all driving in. For me, it was 6 hours one way. So I drove in 6 hours one way twice in 1 week to support Javon. Javon's driving in 2.5 hours one way. And I wanted to make sure that the timing of this was going to all work. And it's obviously an expense, right? I know Javon, I was able to work out a really great deal with my home inspector, again, because of my relationship. Normally, a per door inspection is $150 to $200 per door. Through Capital City RIA, my relationship with my home inspector, we're able to get right around $125 a door. And so, absolutely extraordinary price for the inspection, the report. And what was really fascinating, the realtor was totally in agreement, but the two individuals that seemed to be the most motivated initially were acting as if they weren't motivated. They weren't going to be available. They were hemming and hawing. And I looked at Javon, I muted the phone, and I'm like, are these guys serious? Like, we have a motivated buyer ready, willing, and able to do these inspections. And we have sellers that aren't willing to make themselves available or to have somebody be available for us to do the inspection. And one of them lives 10 freaking minutes from the buildings, right? Like, you've got to be kidding me. And guys, we see this all the time out on the street. It's what I call the real world, real life of real estate. And I said, Javon, push. Push. No, we need to get access. If one of them can't be there, then they need to get their property manager that they pay, quote unquote, pay to be there, or they need to find somebody else. And, sure enough, they figured it out. But Javon, just share with them what this week was like getting ready for the inspection. What was going through your mind? What were you nervous about? I know there were 2 nights or so you didn't sleep. Just share with everybody what was going through your mind, and then what was the process that you took to get up to inspection? I'm going to go grab my power cord. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, for the inspection, it was a lot of coordinating. For the 4-unit, the realtor and me had a previous relationship. So, he's very professional, on time. Like, if you say one thing, like he's like yes or no, and you'll know that exact moment if he could coordinate or not. And if he can't, he'll definitely find someone to work it out. That's just the type of person he is. But with the brothers, the other 2 owners for the 5 and the 10 unit, I haven't done any business with them, but I could tell based on how they did like the financials, how they responded to me through emails, and just how they're coordinated between each other, that they weren't going to be very organized. Like Tammy mentioned, one of the brothers lives 10 minutes away from 2 of the properties. And, we met with him the first time for the site visit, and he said, he was going on vacation, so he wouldn't be able to be there. And I'm like, he's like, my brother should be there. So yeah, don't worry about it. Everything will be fine. He was like, just give him a call, and you guys could work it out. So instead of him calling his brother to work it out with his brother, I call his brother. And so I'm trying to coordinate the inspection with his brother. And he's like, what day? And I was like, this Saturday coming up. And he's like, oh, I'm actually going to be on vacation. I was like, that's what your brother told me. So both of them, their buildings that they're trying to sell are going to be on vacation the same day. Then none of the 2 of them knew they would be on vacation. And their property manager was, get this, also on vacation. So, it's just very interesting timing for them. So then
not at all what they led us to believe, right? They led us to believe that they were the perfect owners, that they handled all of the maintenance calls when they came in, that they, were really, really motivated and caring about the residents and on top of everything. And they said all the right things, okay? But when we got in to do the site visit, we saw one story. When we got back in on Saturday to do the actual full-blown inspections, we saw another story. And we are now, right now as we speak, waiting to get the inspection reports back. And we will now use these inspection reports, because now that the inspection has been done, these are latent and material defects that have been found and disclosed. And so they have to be disclosed to any buyer that would be interested in the property. So we're going to use this now to our favor as a negotiating tool. And we're going to go back and totally amend the offer. The original offer for 4 units, guys, was $175,000. Okay, $175,000 for 4 units that are absolutely gorgeous, occupied, cash flowing, 2-level, completely loved by the sellers, beautifully taken care of. I think there was maybe 2 minor little deferred maintenance issues. Absolutely a spectacular property. They've agreed to do 20 to 25% seller finance, which means that's equivalent to what a lender would require for a down payment. So our goal in working with owners and getting seller financing and negotiating seller financing is to reduce the amount of funds that, as a buyer, Javon would have to bring to the table. But what we've also not shared is that during this year, or almost a year that we've been working together, Javon has also simultaneously been building relationships to raise private money. And he has. So he has built several relationships. He has built quite a substantial base of private funds that he can tap into. He also has worked on himself, and he's been living below his means. He's been setting aside a reserve for costs like earnest money deposits and down payments and due diligence items. You know, he knew he was going to have to put some funds into a reserve. and he started working on that. And there was even one hiccup where he got into an accident and he thought he was going to, deplete all of his reserves. And we were able to strategize where his business bought the car and he ended up not using any of his own funds. So, working together has been an absolutely just amazing journey for Javon. And like I said, all he's put out of his pocket so far was a check on Saturday for the inspection. Okay. Now, obviously, we're going to start getting very, very serious. We're going to be ratifying the actual purchase and sales agreement. We're renegotiating the purchase and sales agreement to get it re-ratified. And we will start reaching out to local lenders in the bank. In the banking and financial industry, we will be reaching out to other financial institutions between Baltimore and Harrisburg. We will be putting together property packages and bank packages. By the way, Javon hasn't done that yet. He doesn't know how to do that, but it's okay. He knows I'm there with him to support him to take this entire journey together. And so is he nervous? Sure. But then from there, we will step into the negotiations, and the 10 unit and the 5 unit are occupied. They are cash flowing, but they're distressed. Most investors in seeing this type of a property would absolutely walk away, but we are using this as nothing but opportunity to go back and reinvest, because we are going to position this where we're able to get 100% seller financing, guys, 100% seller financing, meaning Javon does not go to a bank to get a loan. Why? Because this is exactly how we're going to position it, that these properties are distressed and there's a lot of deferred maintenance. There isn't a lender right now that would probably do a loan on this property, although there currently is a mortgage on it. And this is how we're going to position it. They're motivated. They want to sell. And if they want to sell, then this is the way that we're going to work it out. And Javon, of course, will have to come up with funds to go to closing. Your closing costs typically run anywhere from 3.5% to 4%. Each state, town, jurisdiction is going to be a little bit different, maybe in transfer, recordation, so on and so forth. But Javon has set aside some funds. He also, he and I, once we renegotiate the properties, okay, and we know exactly what the finite numbers are, then he and I will sit down and we will do two things. The first thing we will do is completely revise our 5-year pro forma. And that is not the 5-year pro forma that the seller or the broker gave us. It's the pro forma that Javon creates, that we create together. And we take that information and then we analyze out in a perfect world with a crystal ball what that property is going to look like and what we're going to do with it over the next 5 years, right? And then we're going to write it out in strategic form. Javon's an engineer, so he needs that analytical, right? The step-by-step. This is what we're going to do year 1. This is what we're going to do year 2. What are the critical items? What are the life and safety items? What do we have to do right now, right? We have to address the roof leaks. We have to get new windows put in. We have to secure the building. And then we're going to go in and start addressing this issue and that issue. But it can become completely overwhelming. So we break it down into what is called an investment strategy that is in written form over 5 years. And it's also chronologically in order in numerical form. Okay, so you can see what the actual numbers are, and then we project out what our profit's going to look like. Our goal is to increase income, decrease expenses. So ultimately, over that 3 to 5 year period, Javon will literally terminate his employment and will be living a full-time investment lifestyle, continuing to change lives, impact lives. And, that's that it is. Am I going to say it's easy? No, it's not easy, but it's simple. There are a lot of steps. There are a lot of processes. But Javon, now that you are really getting your arms around the process and the systems, wouldn't you agree there's a lot of wind under your wings? And you absolutely could duplicate everything that we've just talked about by yourself without my help, maybe a little bit of guidance. But could you not now today take yourself all the way through letter of intent, due diligence, the beginning of the due diligence, negotiations of the letter of intent, getting a home inspection done? Couldn't you now take yourself all the way through there? Yeah.
Yeah. Now that I have the pieces in place, the teams, I've been through the process, a little nerve-wracking, but yeah, I believe I can. I have faith.
And you're also building an amazing team, right, in Harrisburg that is supporting you. And so we're going to continue to do that. And Javon has continued to do more research on the Harrisburg market. He learned that the capital, the state is provided funding for a whole brand new capital and a building. And that is going to bring a lot of new jobs into the area. And he's just been continuing to learn more and more and more about, what is going on inside of this Harrisburg market. And there's just incredible opportunity there. And so, we've got these properties now where they're seated. They're in an absolutely beautiful position. And within the next 30 to 45 days, we'll be at the closing table. And, Javon said, Tammy, I said, Javon, you've already got everything you need, right? And if we're able to successfully negotiate all the seller financing, which we already know we have in place, then what are you worried about, right? There's no fear. There's nothing for you to worry about. It's just executing, and you've got to get out of your own way. And now he realizes that. So, that literally is the process. He's 26 years old. He's 26 years young, I should say. He's no different than me. He's no different than you. He's just stepped so far outside of his comfort zone and taken action, even on things that he didn't know, things that he had to trust, things that he had to have faith in. Was he a little uncomfortable at times doing things that I was asking him to do? Sure. Especially being very introverted, for him to go to a new city, to go to new meetups with new people that he didn't know, to have to put his hand out and network and build relationships with these people that he didn't know. Yes, it was very scary, but he knew he had to push through this. He had to get to that other side in order to succeed. And so, there is no reason why you guys can't do this. So literally, we've got 19 units for approximately $400,000, probably less. They're occupied. We're going to be able to have amazing financial upside and some physical upside, not to mention all of the lives that he's going to touch, and the journey that he's going to continue, to build for himself. And, Ala, for example, like I said, she, started looking into, first she was up in a PA market, and I said, I want you to expand out. And so she stepped into a North Carolina market and started doing a lot of research, also extremely analytical. I mean, all she's doing is analyze. And I'm like, stop. Right. So 17 unit mobile home community, seller's a builder, developer, all park owned homes, cash flowing beautifully, in excellent condition. I'm leaving Sunday to go down to North Carolina, and she'll be driving down. We're going to be spending 2 days on site. It's a town right off of 95. And so we're going to be going down and spending 2 days there. I will be working with her side by side on all the different types of due diligence, taking her to economic development, to chamber. We'll be meeting with the seller. We'll be meeting with the broker. We'll be doing site visits inside the homes, gathering data, looking at the leases, et cetera, et cetera. So exact same thing, right, that Javon and I just did. We're not done. I mean, we still have a lot of work cut out for us, believe me. Saturday was completely exhausting. It was a beautiful day, but it was just overwhelming. We both had headaches. but good, productive headaches. And so, my thought process as an investor, I've flipped, I've short sailed, I've rehabbed, I've wholesaled. And I finally came to the realization, if I'm going to spend the same energy, the same time, the same resources, and we all have the same 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, I don't want to be doing these onesies. And then having to go out and redo it over and over and over again, it became a glorified job. Been there, done that, have no desire to go back. When the money's gone, it's gone. But with multi-unit, even if we start out with a 2-unit or a 3-unit or a 4-unit, I say this over and over again, multi means more than one, okay? And so many of the big players out there in commercial real estate, make you think that the only way that you can play is to have a lot of money and that you have to get into the 100-unit, 200-unit, in order to be successful. And I'm here to tell you, you know what? BS, okay? Multi means more than one. So a 2-unit is a multi, a 3-unit, a 4-unit. Once you hit 5, it just takes it over to what is called commercial. But I have, inner circle members that have 2 units that were able to get commercial financing from local credit union. So guys, there is no black and white world in real estate, right? It doesn't exist. It's whatever you want it to be. It is totally achievable. Is it not, Javon?
It is.
Yes, it is. And so, Javon, for somebody just getting started, now we're going to start answering questions. But for somebody that is just getting started in real estate or just getting started in multi-unit, go back a year. What would you do differently if you knew today what you knew a year ago? To somebody that is thinking about multi-unit, maybe not quite a believer yet, doesn't see it's possible, stuck on, I don't have enough money, my credit's not good enough, blah, 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 blah. What would you share with that person as someone that just started on this journey a year ago?
For me, I know I will tell that person not to worry. I worried a lot when I first started off, I still worry. But yeah, I spend a lot of time worrying. There's times where I knew I had to call a broker and it would take me a whole day to call the broker. I'm here like, man, it's almost 2:00. I still have not called this person. I need to call this person. And I'll call and it'll be like the greatest conversation in the world. I'm like, what took me so long, So instead of like back then, instead of calling one person per day, I could call 2 people per day and have, like more off-market deals or more financials in place to look at and analyze and, have more cherries in the pot to pick from, because I wasted a lot of time worrying. So yeah, definitely don't stress it. Just take action. I mean, I actually hate when people say that, take massive action, but it's true. That's what it takes.
So are you unstoppable?
I am.
Are you unmessable with?
Yes, I am. It's written right here somewhere.
Is failure not an option?
It's not.
And did you get out of your own way?
Yes.
You did. And now look at what you're creating. You rock. You know that.
I appreciate it.
You're amazing. So Christina, hey girl, actually my, inner circle sister who literally took a duplex to a local credit union in Frederick, Maryland, and was able to get an absolutely amazing commercial loan on her duplex. Christina said, hey, Javon, I'm so happy and so proud of you. Thank you, Christina. Mwah. Hope school's going well. Missed you, girl. And hope to see you soon. Saw some great photos of you on Insta. So keep up the good work. So Z said there are some questions. Oh, somebody asked a question earlier. So Javon, this is pre-recorded, not taking questions. Sonia, this is not pre-recorded. This is live, and I am taking questions right now. I did ask everybody to share their questions. However, I really wanted to share Javon's story because there were so many questions that were coming in, and I don't do pre-recorded webinars. Sorry to hurt your feelings or bust your bubble, but Tuesdays with Tammy is live. Now, are they recorded? Yes, and we will send out the replay tomorrow. But right now, we are live. Right now, as we speak, at 9:25 p.m. on Tuesday, July 10th. So anyway, where do you get, Sonia says, where do you get your operating capital from? Is it collateralized? So where are you going to get your operating capital from to operate your apartment buildings?
So, that's a great question. Everyone asks that question. They always worry about the financing. There are multiple ways. For me, I haven't decided that because we haven't hit the settlement table yet. But personally, my credit as right now is pretty good. So I have access to a line of credit. I have access to multiple credit cards that add up to a significant amount. I've reached out to private lenders.
Reserve. You also have liquid
and
capital.
Personal reserve for my job. So,
and Sonia, he also will have cash flow, coming in from the properties. So, he's got multiple sources, and that's one of the things that we talk about in Inner Circle is not putting all of your eggs in one basket and only relying on one source. Javon knew a year ago, once we began this journey, he and I had the conversation one-on-one that you are going to have to live below your means. You are going to have to sacrifice. Do not go out and make any big, huge personal purchases. Do not get stupid with your credit cards, right? Do you want to be living a large materialistic life and a lot of debt and working a 9-to-5, or do you want to sacrifice over the next 3 to 5 years to create a future of freedom, wealth, financial independence, which means you need to live below your means right now, sacrifice a little bit, put some money away, the best that you can, start building out, different types of relationships. And Javon and many others, have done that. They all have different ways, which is what I love so much about real estate, right? There's not one way. It's not a black and white world. So Javon is very studious and resourceful, and he has multiple lines and multiple financial resources that he can pull from at any time to be able to do what he needs. And he also knows not to go too big, right? So he's not trying to go buy some 200 or 300 unit apartment building that costs $7.5 million, where he's got to raise, $400,000 or a half million just to be able to get into it for his first acquisition. It's just, that to me is an immediate setup for failure. This is totally affordable, totally within his ability. And it gives him the history, it gives him the stability, it gives him the ability to create a foundation and to get his arms around it. And, he still works full time. So obviously having a full-time career, we've had to have some heart-to-hearts about what is realistic about for you to take on. And some investors just, like I said, they think they can take on more than what they really can. So it's a lot of heart-to-heart, a lot of real world, real life, straight up, eye to eye, nose to nose, face to face, heart to heart conversations about what really makes sense for him, right? Because what makes sense for Javon maybe isn't necessarily going to make sense for the next person. Where can we find information on your Inner Circle? Gwen, I am going to give out my cell phone again in just a little bit. I want to make sure we get through these questions. Javon, Z also asked, Z got a lot of questions. So let's hope I can get them all answered. If not, we can certainly speak offline. I want to give others that asked a question an opportunity as well. So have you formed your LLC?
No, I haven't. That is definitely
Well,
something.
you have.
Oh, for the building or my business? I'll answer
Okay,
both.
so
I'm
that
not sure what you're
right, there
asking.
wasn't clarity there. I apologize. So you have formed an LLC
Yeah, I have
in
my own personal
Virginia,
one for my business. That's been
right,
active for a while now.
which
Um,
is your holding company.
yep.
But we have not opened up or started the process to create an LLC in Pennsylvania yet.
Yeah. For
And here's why: it doesn't make sense to go spend the money or the time or the resources to set up LLCs when we are not anywhere near the closing table at this point. Once we get within 2 to 3 weeks of the closing table, and we know that we absolutely, definitely are going to be sitting at the closing table, we will expedite the LLC process. I mean, in Baltimore, for crying out loud, for the state of Maryland, you can go and get in 20 minutes, walk out with an LLC. In Virginia, you can expedite and have an LLC in 10 days. Pennsylvania, same thing. It's very, very easy. So we're not going to go ahead and put the cart before the horse. We're not going to go create an LLC before we absolutely know for a fact. Guys, been there, done that. I got excited. I went and formed an LLC. And then I had a property that didn't close. And now what do? I'm sitting with this LLC that I can't do anything with, that I've already spent money on. So, doesn't make sense. But again, a lot of people say, yeah, you need to get your business cards. You need to set up an LLC. You need to have this. BS, right? That's just a lot of nonsense. You don't have to do all that if you don't have a property that you're acquiring, right? But does Javon have an LLC in the state of Virginia where it is his primary residence? Yes, that is his holding company, his management company. He's seasoning it. It's the LLC that acquired his car. And it is the LLC. I don't want to get complicated, but I could get very complicated very quick. And I'm not a CPA either. So we will use his Virginia LLC as a main managing member to the Pennsylvania LLC that will actually own the property. So whole nother conversation, but it's entity structuring, asset protection, layering, and how I will help him with an attorney, with a CPA, to actually structure that and layer it down to protect Javon, right? And to protect the residents. So yes, we will create the Pennsylvania LLC in time when it is correct. All right, so let's see here. Gwen asked, Javon, how did you raise private capital? I know this is a scary one for a lot of people, because people literally think they're asking for money. But you and I had several conversations around this, Javon. You don't have to give out any specifics about who your private lenders are, anything like that. I know how important that is to you. But what did you do to go raise private capital? Gwen wants to know.
Yeah, so great question, Gwen. I guess before I answer your question, I'll give a little information on the process. There's accredited investor and a non-accredited investor. There's like 3 criteria to be accredited investor, but one I know of head is they have a net worth of $1 million. I do not know any millionaires, so that one was definitely off my list. And then you have non-accredited investors. That's people that you met 3 times in longer than the past 30 days. So basically, friends, families, coworkers, people in your sphere of influence, investors you met at meetups. I have been going to meetups for about 2 years to keep a rough number. So I've met a lot of people. I've been living for 27 years. So, I've met people through that way. And, I just reached out to different people that's known me for a while, know my character, and I explained what I'm trying to do. And, they wanted some more information. We had several conversations where
you shared the
opportunity.
Right? We didn't go out and say we were raising money. Javon literally got out of that mindset, right? It all goes back to the mindset, to stink and think. And Javon, what are the 4 acronyms that we stay focused on when we're raising private funds or when we are talking about building relationships?
I believe you're talking about form.
Yep.
Basically, F is for family, O is orientation, basically occupation, what they do for a living, then recreation, and M is
motivation.
Is it,
motivation.
What is it?
Motivation.
Motivation, yes. Yeah, so, basically just keep the conversation casual. It's not as complicated as everyone thinks. I'll share an interesting story of private lenders that didn't work out for me as right now. So I go to a gym and play basketball on Tuesdays. It's normally my time to like de-stress and, just relax. So I went to the gym and I was in the locker room talking to a couple of guys that I play basketball with, and they just got their real estate license and they knew I'd been doing investing for a while. As I said earlier, I was wholesaling. So they was like, I was like, hey, we just got a license. We want to talk to you about real estate. So I'm here like, cool. What are you guys doing? And they was like, we want to like flip. And I was like, that's cool. And they was like, can you help us flip? Can you help us flip? And I was like, oh no, I can't. They was like, I thought you did real estate. And I was like, no. I mean, I do, but not that. I was like, flipping is great, but I'm doing something else in real estate. But if you want to flip,
I don't think I heard that story. That's great.
So they was like, what? I don't understand. I thought you did flips in real estate. So basically, in the locker room of a gym that I've been going through since I moved to Virginia 3 years ago, I sat down, I explained multi-units and the benefits of it, and why I would not do flipping, and why I pick multi-units over it. And turns out these brothers had $500,000 that they want to invest in flips, but they had it available. So my gym is nothing crazy. It's not like it's $100 a month membership. It's $40. The fanciest car you'll see there is like a BMW. Just normal people I've known for 3 years, and they have $500,000 just waiting there. So
well, and Javon, just like Adam and Heath, right? They I think they've raised between $500,000, $750,000 in the past year. It's hard to believe I know this, guys, but it is mindset, right? If you walked up to someone and said, hey, my name is Javon, I want to borrow $500,000 from you, they're going to say, are you kidding me? Get out of here. I don't know you. Who are you? But it's about the relationship. It's about nurturing the relationship, starting the conversation at the gym. Then you see the person again. Maybe you offer to go out for a cup of coffee. You're talking about the opportunity. And that's what it is. And there's nothing magical to it in any way, shape, or form. But most of us get in our own way right here. And we've got to be able, to get out of our own way and be able to push past that. Javon and I have had multiple conversations, about that. We weren't taught, guys, in school how to do these things. So if it's an uncomfortable place to be, if you don't know what to do or what to say, I can share with you, first of all, learning who you are, right? Javon knows he's introverted. That doesn't mean he's a bad person, but by us focusing on who he is, I'm able to help Javon, and I did understand, look, this is who you are. You are analytical. You analyze for a living, okay? Socializing and networking is harder for you, but once you get to know someone, we can't shut you up, right? And he's a talker. But for those of you that are analytical, for those of you that are in IT, for those of you that struggle with it being a challenge to get out and socialize and shake hands and network. It's just the understanding and being aware of that. And maybe it's someone else, right, that you're JVing with that actually goes out. It's a whole another conversation. But part of Inner Circle is the intimate interaction that we share, very deeply personalized one-on-one about who you are, where you're going, and what it is that you want to create in your life. So, all right. One of the questions was, where are the units located? We answered that. They are in Central PA, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So they're not in the DMV. Christian said, when you understand the investing side in real estate, your freedom to passive income is way better all day. Christian, we totally agree. Debbie says, yes, it's a lot more fun. Debbie also says investing provides way more than just money. We agree. Totally talked about that. Jonette says, or Jonette, copying my earlier question, when you explain the process, can you confirm what you put in the LOI as far as Javon's intent with the property and whether he had to show any financials to the seller or broker? So, Jonette, what I can share with you is, as I shared earlier, real estate is not a black and white world. So what is in Javon's LOI is not maybe necessarily what's going to be in your LOI. What Ala had in her LOI, what the guys have in their LOI, what Christina put in her LOI, what, Tanya may put in her LOI, what Larry and Vicky put in their LOI. It's totally subject property specific. Now, the letter of intent is a basic template, right? So you've got the seller's name, the buyer's name, the property address, and the terms. What you're going to buy the property for, under what terms, what are a few contingencies. It is not a purchase and sales agreement. It is literally a letter of intent that says, based on the information that I have received thus far, based on the information that I have received thus far, I am prepared to provide this letter of intent, which is outlining my intent to acquire this property from you solely based on what you've given me thus far. It is not binding. It is not a contract that is ratified. In commercial real estate, it is the beginning stages of negotiations because some commercial transactions can take months and months and months. And you could submit multiple letters of intent. And, it's the gentlemanly way of doing a handshake that's saying, yes, this offer looks great. I initially submit it. And then we start the process rolling. I literally have spent 8 hours over the past 2 days working with legal counsel and another student to draft a letter of intent, an actual purchase and sales agreement on this 17-unit mobile home park. We got the letter of intent done. The seller and the realtor said they really would like to have a purchase and sales agreement so they can pull it off the market, a little outside of the norm of what we do. But before we make this 6-hour trek down to this part of North Carolina, I wanted to make sure that we were not wasting anybody's time. So we went ahead and expedited the process. We got the purchase and sales agreement drafted. It's in review. It'll be signed and sent off tomorrow. And that way, when we leave on Sunday to go down there, it's already ratified, right, with feasibility due diligence. But there is not an actual black and white exact language that goes in a letter of intent. So, Jonette, I truly hope that answered your question on the letter of intent and what exactly is in the LOI. Javon, is there anything you'd like to share to Jonette about what you've learned or what your process is that you could share in your experience in submitting a letter of intent?
Yeah, so even my LOIs from the properties that I put offers in, I do have a basic template, but it changes all the time. And it's kind of really annoying sometimes, but you know, is what it is. There's no like, I'm just gonna send this for all the properties and everything then will be fine. It's subject to each property, so it's always different. But to answer the other part of your question with the proof of funds, I think that's what you really want to know about too. But again, it's situational. I had brokers that just send me the financial information without knowing if I have any money in my back pocket. I've had people ask for the proof of funds. Actually, the first property that Tammy and I looked at in Baltimore, like this guy like really, really wanted proof of funds, and he wouldn't give anything without it. So it's one of those things where it just depends on the situation, the person you're dealing with. With a 5 and a 10 unit, I'll tell you, when I first started the conversation with the realtor, they insisted on proof of funds. But I was like, hey, you didn't give me any information on the property. I don't have a purchase price. Like, how could I offer you anything? How could I show you my financials? Then they sent me pro forma. And after I sent in an LOI, you know, they never asked for proof of funds after that, you know, just based on the conversation that we had and the steps that I took to move forward the property. So great question, but there's no answer for you. It's just, it depends.
Right. But, you know, Javon, I think a lot of what it goes back to when I asked you, what would you do differently? And you said, I worried a lot, right? Because we worry about the fear of the unknown, right? And this is an unknown, right? So many people worry about so many of the unknowns that they don't take massive action and just do it, you know, just jump in because they're worried about all the what ifs, right? Well, what if I don't have enough money? What if they ask me for my financials? What if they ask me for a proof of funds? What if? But if all we do is say, but what if, but what about this and what about that? And I don't have this and I don't have that, then we're never going to do it, right? It's like, when is the right time to get pregnant? When is the right time to have child number 2? When is it the right time to get married, right? Well, I'll have baby number 2 after we've saved $50,000, right? But that never happens. And it's the same thing in real estate. You know, Javon did not know that 3 multi-unit opportunities were going to come together simultaneously, where the stars lined up, the universe spun around the sun and the moon, and they all just happened to be there at the exact same time. He would have been grateful just for one, but it so happened that 3 of them came together simultaneously. He made the decision to jump on all 3 of them, and I'm playing full out with him, right? Our arms are locked. We're going for it. We're playing full out. We know he can do it. We've already analyzed. We know he's got the funds, but so many times we get so worried and so worked up about an illusion, and it's a what if, and it paralyzes so many investors from taking action. Javon is not this multimillionaire. He's not a trust fund baby. He's not somebody that is sitting on hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that, you know, a grandparent inherited to him. I keep saying 26. I forgot he just went on one of his dream vacations too for his birthday. But he's 27 years old, and he's no different than any of us. All he's done is believed in himself, had the faith to know that it's possible. He has a coach, a mentor, a guide that is supporting him, that holds him accountable, that loves him, that pushes him, that edges him, you know, that is truthful with him, that takes him outside of his comfort zone. But I can only take Javon as far as he's willing to go, or anyone. If he's not willing to climb up to the 4th story on a ladder with no net behind him and look down over a roof still smiling and say the whole way up the ladder as he's holding on to it with white knuckles going, oh my God, I'm so afraid of heights. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. Oh my God, I'm so afraid of heights. As he's scaling. Right? Real estate and investing is just like that. You're holding on to this ladder, climbing up, going, oh my God, I'm so afraid of heights. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. Oh my God, I'm so afraid of heights. Oh my God. And then you get up to the top and you look out and you see the view and you're like, oh my God, look at this up here. I can see what other people can't see. It's so freaking beautiful up here. And that's what it is. But he had to have the belief that he could do it. He had to have the faith to know that it was possible. And he started and he climbed right up that ladder, right? Just that simple. So it is, you know, please trust the process. Please believe in yourself. Please know that you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, sitting there. You don't have to have absolutely perfect credit, right? Now, I'm not saying you can do real estate with none of your own money. That's a myth. It's a misnomer, and it drives me nuts, okay? Somewhere, somehow, along the way, you're going to pay for it. You're either going to pay for it on the front end, you're going to pay for it in the back end, or you're going to pay for it in the middle. But you cannot not invest in real estate with absolutely zero of your own investment, okay? It's just not possible. So having these conversations now, knowing you got to live below your means. Yes, I want a 745 BMW. It's one of my dream vehicles, but I'm not paying $100,000 for the vehicle. It just makes no sense. I'd rather go buy a multi-unit, okay? I want the cash flow. Maybe 5 years, 10 years from now, I'll go buy it. But you also realize, just like Debbie's realizing, Christina's realizing, so many are realizing, once you start changing lives and making a difference in other people's lives and creating wealth, you realize very, very quickly that the material things just don't have the same meaning that they used to, right? What becomes important in my life is now service. It's being able to give back. It's being able to reposition the assets, to stabilize the assets. It's being able to take a young couple with a 7-week-old child and let them know we've got your back. We're going to give you a better place to live. You're not going to have to worry about these kinds of things, right? It's doing a picnic or a water day for the kids. It's whatever it is, right? But that's what we're all about here. So I think I got quite a bit of the questions. Let me see. Let me just scroll back through. Where are the units located? We got that. Okay, Jessica wanted to know, what was the significance with the river and the highway criteria?
So I wouldn't say, it's, fact or anything like that. But, when I was looking at the maps to pick my locations, I noticed that places with major highways going through it have a larger population, and places near rivers have a larger population. And that helped me to pick my markets, Baltimore, Richmond, and Harrisburg. If you look at it, major cities, major metro areas, and, there's thriving markets. Like Baltimore is a hot market. Richmond's a great market, and Harrisburg, it's under revitalization to be a great market. So, like I said, I don't know if it's a fact, but it's just small things that I noticed that led me to pick those places for my markets.
Right. And geographically, when we're studying markets, we have, obviously the very huge, large markets, right? So you've got Washington, D.C., Miami, Chicago, LA, Las Vegas, Detroit, Dallas, Texas, right? Those are the big, huge, what we call large city markets. Then we also have what are called small city markets, right? So Baltimore would be a small city market in the DMV. Fort Worth would be a small city market in Dallas. Jacksonville would be a small city in California or Ocala. Reno in Nevada, right? You get the picture, so on and so forth. Well, there's also, in any geographical market, you're also going to have what are called submarkets. And so Philly is not a huge city. Pittsburgh is not a huge city. Those are more small city. Well, Pittsburgh's probably a larger city. They're a good sized city, but in and around each of those, for example, are other really nice submarkets. And Harrisburg is a really, really thriving submarket of Philadelphia. And it happens to be very centrally located, depending on what part of Harrisburg. You're literally within 60 minutes to 2 hours of Baltimore. And the same on the Philly side. So it's positioned really, really well. But you don't have the outrageous and overwhelming price points that you do in DC. DC is unaffordable. It makes no sense to buy, a 5,000 square foot property for $1 million when you can buy a 5,000 square foot property for $200,000. It's cash flowing $6,000 to $9,000 a month, 60 minutes away. It's a different mindset. Is investing in DC bad? No, right? If you're really big into the DC market, if you want to do, $100,000 to $200,000 flip, if you don't mind dealing with TOPA, if you don't mind dealing with rent control, if you don't mind owning in a city that's owned 80% by the tenants. But this is why we spend a lot of time on markets, right? I love DC. I was born in DC. But as a property owner, I will not invest inside of DC. I don't want to own apartment buildings inside of DC because I'm not willing to deal with TOPA. I'm not willing to have the government control or dictate or tell me what I can or can't charge for rent. But there are a lot of investors that invest in DC. They love DC and they swear by DC. That doesn't mean I'm right or wrong, or they're right or wrong, or that it's good or bad. What is so beautiful about our country? What is so beautiful about many countries? What is so beautiful about real estate investing is there is no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. And, what may be a good market to me may not be a good market to Javon. What may be a good market to Javon may not be a good market to you. Javon has carved out his niche, and he has found a market that he just jives with really, really well. And he's going to do very well there. He's building up immense relationships. It's a great entry point. It's very affordable. There is revitalization going on there. We've documented this. We've gone to economic development. We've gone to chamber. We're learning about the city. We go to different restaurants. Well, there's one we favorite quite a bit where I get my bubble tea. But we keep, learning about the small businesses. We drive around different streets every time we go there. He's constantly learning about that market, and it's just knowing, what you need to do. But I can tell you it's an amazing life when you can make a difference in the lives of others and make great cash flow all at the same time. So, all right, let's see. I know we have run over. For those of you, there's so many of you that are still here tonight. Oh my God, thank you. I know it's a work night. Let me see here. What terms will you offer private investors? That's a little bit of a touchy question. I believe John knows how to answer it well. So Javon, how would you like to answer that question that John asked about what terms will you offer private investors?
Like everything in real estate, it depends. Someone may have different needs than another person. For example, I was talking to a particular person, and their goal was to make sure that their daughter had enough money to go to college. A next person could be an investor with a goal to be a millionaire by the time he's 30. He may want a higher percentage. So I cater it to who I'm talking to, what their goals are. I assure them that I'm not a person that's trying to take their money away, but we both have goals, and I want to make sure it's a win-win. And this particular opportunity works out for both of us. And if it can't, there'll be the next one down the line. And I try to phrase the conversation about terms that way.
And awesome, Javon. Couldn't have said it better myself. It's all about, again, that relationship, right? I know we keep alluding to that, but that's what it is. Because you may have someone that has a very, very high tolerance for risk. You may have another investor whose risk tolerance, is at the end of its rope, and they want to be very, very, very conservative on it for a very fixed period of time. You may have investors that want a guaranteed preferred rate of return interest. It's called a guaranteed interest payment every single month. It's the same amount. It's guaranteed. They know what to expect every single month. You may have other investors that are willing to play full out and roll the dice and, like blackjack, and they're willing to get a percentage of the equity. You have equity partners. You have credit partners. You have debt partners. There's, it is so specific, and it's not saying, all right, Javon, I understand you got to go. So it's not saying, hey, I offer X percent to every single investor and you get a blank X percentage of ownership. Guys, it just is not a black and white world like that. It is all, as Javon said, as I'm saying, it's all about the relationship and what that person's needs are. So as you guys could see, Javon is being summoned, and I know we've gone over. And so as always, Javon, so generous, so kind, so giving with everything that you share, always from the bottom of your heart. No, this is only the beginning, and I'm speechless and awed by you every day and what you step up into. I love you so much. Thank you for allowing me to honor you and what you're achieving, and for you to be so transparent and honest and sharing your journey with others. That it is doable, it is achievable, and that anybody can make this happen. So thank you guys all so much. Javon, I don't want to hold you up anymore, but for those of you that would like to contact me to learn a little bit more about Inner Circle or Capital City REIA, my cell phone is, you know what, it's probably going to be easier to shoot me an email, guys, because I'm actually really busy for the next couple days. So let's do this. Let me give you guys my email. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed it. Congratulations, Javon. Congrats. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your experience. So clearly you've touched a lot of lives. So guys, if anybody is interested in learning more about how to be a part of Inner Circle, you can email us at hello, HELLO, hello at capital, CAPITAL, cityrea.com. I'm actually going to type it in right now for you. Give me 1 second. That way I make sure I say it. All right, so I just typed in my email address. Everybody there should have access to it. It's in the chat box, hello at capitalcityrea.com. You can just shoot me an email, and we will absolutely make sure that we reach out to you guys and have a one-on-one conversation. Tim, it was so good to know that you were here this evening. I hope your beautiful wife and your kids are doing amazing, and would love to go have some coffee sometime. I really do miss you, and we still use the incredible Excel spreadsheet that you created for us. My rule of thumb analyzer, Tim actually created that, and it's just an amazing document that he created it. Yeah, that continues to touch lives today. So Tim, just wanted to let you know that amazing document that you created is still being put to use today. So hope you're doing well. Heard you're now a broker, and you've got your own brokerage going on. So proud of you. You deserve nothing but the best. Javon, I don't know what to say. You're amazing, and you know how much I love you and care about you. So it's going to be a fun ride, and we still got a lot to do. We got to get through these reports, right? And so you know what the process is. Stay strong, keep your head up, keep reaching for the stars, but shoot for the moon. Good night, everybody. We'll see you at our next event, which is a rehab mastermind. I'm still looking for the property that we're going to do. That is on Wednesday, June 25th, July. I've already passed June. July 25th. A little bit different, more fun way than our normal monthly meetup REIA meeting. I'm actually going to take a rehab property, a single family or multi-unit that somebody's working on right now. We're going to do a live on-site mastermind, actually at the property, live on-site. So keep your eyes peeled for emails. That'll be on Wednesday evening, July 25th. But until then, if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to us. I put our email address in the chat box. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Javon, please be safe, be blessed. And until next time, here's to your extraordinary success, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.